how was your day?
That was awful. My boss was a jerk. I've been on my feet all day long, and my back is killing me. I think I have to go back to that chiropractor.
The chiropractic? It's a bogus sham therapy for con artists and shysters, like to con money out of weak-willed. And what do you mind doing? Why don't you just, do some exercise, get out there, lose some weight, and you'll feel just right at it.
Such a dick.
Oh, hi, honey. How was your day?
That was awful. My boss was a jerk. I've been on my feet all day long, and my back is killing me. I think I have to go back to that chiropractor.
You know what? I just finished reading this paper, and apparently a nice back massage and a bit of exercise is just as effective as chiropractic. Do you fancy a back rub?
I think we should do some sex.
Yes, we should.
Thank you. My big screen debut, it's kind of a big screen, I think, and my husband's as well. And the great thing about filming that was that we had to do it a couple of times, and each time I'm like, no, you literally have to say I'm fat. Just do it. Because, yeah, I know what you're thinking. Like, there's no way somebody was that clueless. Nobody has ever said something that terrible. Well, I'd like you to meet a Reddit user by the name of Blues Mojo. And if you're not aware of Reddit, Reddit is like a news aggregator, and you don't have to read all this. I'm going to sum it up for you in a second. Reddit is it's user-submitted content, and you can vote things up or down. And there's subreddits, one of which is for skeptics, and it's actually very good, and I highly recommend you check it out. I get a lot of breaking news stories that way. And then I also find gems like this. Let me sum up to you what this is saying, and maybe you can figure out what went wrong. So the guy explains that his girlfriend's back hurts all the time, and one night she came home and was complaining about it. She mentioned that a chiropractor was the only thing that had helped her previously, and she wanted to go back. He said it's due to her sedentary lifestyle, and then he says that she should just fix her diet and get some exercise. And then there's a huge blowout fight for some reason. What happened? He was such a good skeptic. So, I mean, it seems obvious, in the 2020, hindsight being 2020, it does seem obvious. But I do think it's important to keep these sort of things in mind, that this is not the way to make our loved ones more skeptical of anything, of chiropractors, of religion, of homeopathy. There are better ways to do it. So how do we? I thought I'd come up with a few do's and don'ts. For instance, try having a sense of humor about it. Just don't take yourself so seriously, and you'll find out that people will be more willing to listen to you. You should also choose your battles. So maybe not, when your girlfriend's just gotten home and is in pain. Just leave it. Come back. Also, just plant the seed. We've talked about this on the Skeptics Guide before. And actually, Richard Wiseman mentioned it in a way in his last talk. People will rarely be convinced on the spot. Even people who have just run across hot coals and scalded their feet will come off and defend what they just did. It's human nature. So if you can't convert somebody on the spot, what do? Well, what you do is you give them the tools they need. You give them little bits of information to help them out and let them go away with it. You walk away. Just plant the seed, walk away. And you'll find that if they're a reasonable person, and if they're interested in the topic, if you presented it in an interesting way, then they'll ruminate about it a bit, and they'll come back around. And if you're lucky, the seed you planted will grow into a beautiful, skeptical blossom, like this plant, but which the spotlight has been on all day. So, those are just some small tips for actually helping to convert your loved ones. But just have some patience. You're not going to do it right away. Don't tell your girlfriend she's fat. Don't choose your skepticism over friends. That's not to say that you should remain friends with people who are idiots, but just recognize that people are human and that they will have some weird beliefs, and that maybe sometimes their friendship is more important to you than you being right. I find that that's the best way to convert someone, is just by staying friends with them, by being cool about it, and eventually maybe they'll come around to your way of thinking. Don't be a dick, basically. However, it occurred to me while I was writing this talk that to end, I should help out those of you who do kind of want to be a dick. Or at least maybe you want to avoid religious phrases that you say every day that make you feel a little uncomfortable. So I started coming out with a list. I asked the skeptic community to help me out. They threw out a few. I really like "Oh My Maud," because someone realized that you can just replace God with Maud, and it works everywhere. So I highly recommend doing that. There's some God bless you alternatives. I'm particularly, I think that the first one is particularly good. May the great Cthulhu consume you / your mucus. And just this morning, I was chatting with one of my skeptic writers, Surly Amy, and she gave me the last one. I said, what do you say when someone sneezes? I say, shut up. But it's actually really funny. I've tried it since, and it's quite good. So if you want some alternatives to saying thank God, thank goodness is quite a good one. You know, you might be more familiar with it as a weaker version of thank God. For those, you know, Baptist, my family, they didn't like saying God so much, so they would say goodness. But thank goodness is actually a really great term, because when somebody does something nice for you, you know, you're thanking goodness, the goodness inside of them. So I think that's perfectly good. You can thank science. Why not? Sometimes, you know, I'd say science is really good for thanking, saves more lives than God ever has. Or thank the seemingly random confluence of events that led to this eventuality. Bit of a mouthful, but try it out, see what you think. The last one, I was trying to come up with some ideas for God damn it, and I was coming up short. And the problem, I don't know, I just started on this one. It was my last slide, and I swear this happened just like this. I was on this slide, I was writing it, typing it out, and I was listening to my friend George Frabb's podcast. George is a really wonderful skeptic, atheist musician, and he does a podcast called the Geologic Podcast. And while I was listening, he does a little Ask George feature, and someone had written into him and said, do you have any alternatives for God damn it that don't invoke God? And George did a little piece just on that. And I asked him if it'd be okay if I played it today to end the talk, and he said sure. So hopefully the sound will work on this. Let's see. No. Of course it's not going to work. That's all right. We'll just jerry-rig it again. It's fine. Talk amongst yourselves. No, don't. That'd be awful. Yeah, why not? Everybody can see my iTunes. It's weird. You know, normally I'm quite fond of Macs, but let's do it in Audacity. Here we go.
The Geologic Podcast presents words to use as alternate profanity, not having any religious significance whatsoever.
The next time you accidentally slam your testicles into the door of an ice cream truck, feel free to say any of the following. Blagojevich! Nurse Buckets. Pooh Wrangler. Velociraptor Cop. In the name of Jerry Falwell's colon, son of a Cromwell. Tachyon. Giblets and gravy. Nurse! Geordie's visor. Captain Morgan's spiced halibut. Kraken. Comptroller Ball. Saint MacGyver. Post it, post it, post it, no! Autocumulus. Credenza. Reciprocating Saw. Tuba Jones. Jar Jar Bruh. Cialis. Foo Gator. Crotch Pirate. Ben Stein. Solenoid. Van David. For the love of Scrabble tiles. Ruben. socket wrench, JD Salinger, Puss in Boots, Puss Out of Boots, Zilchy Zilch Mother, Reggae Voice, Dork, Petroleum Jelly, Daphne's Glasses, Curry Powder, and finally, Veggie Tales. We do so hope this has been helpful. Thank you and good cursing.
So it's a geologic podcast. I think George said that much better than I ever could. So that's all I've got. I hope that this was a helpful talk for you, and I'd be happy to take any questions.